What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. BobbyFi with my man, Eric Sheets-Haber. We've got golf, we've got basketball, and most importantly, or somewhat, maybe most importantly, whatever, we've got baseball still. We've got an interesting slate tonight. It's a small one, but it's certainly got a couple places you can go. Sheets, any sort of first overall thoughts on this slate before we share your screen and get into game by game?
Yeah, a little compact slate. Pitching seems straightforward enough, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It seems straightforward every night, and next thing you know, you're scrambling. But why don't you talk for a minute about your relative successes yesterday?
I had a deep run in the big 555. I was up to third, and I had more time remaining and everything. But John Gray didn't help me out, not striking anybody out. Although he did pitch 6 innings and get up 3 runs, got a quality start, but didn't help me out enough. Clevenger was great, and then I had a Houston stack with Toro at third, which obviously paid off huge. And I had at first Matt Olson as a one-off, who had 2 home runs, who I loved. I mentioned on our show against Kyle Gibson as a power one-off. He's also crushed Gibson in the past. So it worked out really well, but then I just didn't quite get enough from the other Houston guys. Getting 0 from Altuve really hurt. Springer was great. Kepler I had as a one-off, hit a home run. Just there was a lot of good places I could have gone with that lineup, and then ended up sort of fiddling out towards the end with all the Arizona stuff. But mostly, Trout's second home run also hurt. But honestly, I just needed a little bit more from the offense. I might have been able to get over it.
All right, let's get into today. I'll go ahead and share my.
Yeah, fire it up. Real quickly, I'll just say the first thing that jumps out to me today. You have 2 excellent pitching options in the same game. And it's going to be hard to either decide between them and pair with somebody else, or decide if you really want to take a shot with somebody else and not just play those 2. So that's
yeah.
sort of
So this is a very interesting situation for me, because again, I'm really, I try to do my own work, but I also, aggregate other people's, and I sometimes, and this is what I'm usually pretty good at, is figuring out when kind of there's an outlier take that I want to kind of jump on, or where there's an outlier take that I kind of want to just avoid. And usually ownership kind of drives that, but sometimes, and we'll get to it in a second, but sometimes there's people that I respect so much that I have to just give them the benefit of the doubt that if they're off from the rest of the industry, that I'm going to give them a little bit of a break, especially if it's low ownership, especially if, well, we'll get to it in a second. So let's start right here with the Yankees, Philadelphia. So again, at first look, I would say, okay, like the Yankees are, probably a pretty, I would say easy team to stack, whatever, but, just go for the Yankees. Zach Eflin, he just doesn't project all that great, whatever it is. And then I'll tell you that, there's one take out there, the very, very well-known projection system that really loves Zach Eflin. I mean, just maybe like 6-7 points more than everybody else. And what's interesting to me is if that's the case, and he's low owned, and the Yankees are going to be popular hitters, I might try it just on faith. You know what I mean? So I gotta look a little more at the Zach Eflin, because I really wasn't going to do any of it. But depending on how ownership plays out and all this stuff, I have to take another look at it, because as you're saying, I mean, and we'll get to this next game in a second, where the 2 of the 2 best pitchers on the slate are probably playing the same game. Zach Eflin, I want to do a little more work on. And yet, on the other hand, I certainly wouldn't mind taking some shots at the Yankees also. Yeah. That's really all I had. I mean, I fiddled around with taking Philadelphia, but I just ended up taking, liking other teams a little bit better. What do you think of Eflin, for example? Do you look at that at all?
Yeah, do you mind calling up the games when we talk about them, just so I can look at the players real quick, give them a viewing shot, just the Yankees-Philly?
What do you want me to do? Oh, let's clear this.
If we're going game by game, I just want to click on the games,
Oh, yeah, let me just go ahead.
No problem. So for me, I like I still would just side with the Yankee stack. You have a hitter's umpire, extreme hitter's umpire, actually, in this one.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Not that is the only reason. I just think it's really scary to face this Yankees team. And honestly, on this slate, it's hard for me to find another stack that I really like. So I kind of like the Yankee stack. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? It's a little tricky. So I'm siding more with that way. I'm not playing much because I'm going to get my daughter tonight. but I personally would probably just side with the Yankee bats and be a little chalky here. But I don't mind if you're playing a bunch of tournaments, take a shot on Eflin. I think he's actually got some stuff, and these guys can strike out. So anyway,
you like anybody from Philly on the hitting side?
well, first on the Yankees side, I think you prioritize
Okay.
Judge, then Stanton. The reason why people are going to like the Eflin thing is because he's pretty good against righties, and Yankees are going to throw a bunch of righties out there. But these are better than average righties. These aren't normal righties. And the truth is, they're lefty. I mean, even Aaron Hicks has got I don't know. It's just like Aaron Hicks makes a lot of sense. So I guess he would be the next one. But yeah, it is a little bit weird because it's not a great night. There's not a night where there's all these other stacks that are jumping out at you. And the Yankees, just from a run total standpoint, it's just hard not to be interested in them as a group. But I do see the argument for Eflin and being difficult to them. I just don't think I'd pitch him, but I could see it maybe not being a full Yankee stack night for me. Maybe it's just a mini stack.
Okay. What about Philly hitters?
Philly, I think that actually Philly side is really interesting. I love Reese. I think he's one of the top plays on the slate. I love JT Realmuto, but he's so expensive. I don't mind Harper and the lefty if you want to get a little mini stack going, and I really like McCutchen. So McCutchen, Reese would be my priorities probably, and then Segura is just so cheap. I guess you could say Segura as well. So those three, I think, all make a lot of sense actually.
Does Jay Bruce get into the lineup at 3,100 or no?
Maybe, but I doubt it. I wouldn't play him. I don't like playing against lefties. He doesn't hit lefties at all. But 3,100 is 3,100. So, but I don't think they would play him.
Okay. All right. So let's get to it. So Cincinnati, Cleveland. These are so the two. Let's just talk about it. So I think the two chalk constructions are going to be something along the lines of one or two of these guys together, or one of them with the cheap guy we're going to get to later. I forget his name, but I'll get to him later. So both these pitchers are extremely in play. I honestly can't really separate them on DK. I think the two of them are very, very similar. I was looking. I thought FanDuel, I like one of them more than the other one though. Forget which one though. I think I like Carrasco more on FanDuel than Castillo. But both of them look really, really strong on DK.
Yeah, I'm into both these guys. I was a little surprised at how few strikeouts Clevenger had last night, even though he pitched really well compared to how high of a strikeout guy he is, and also how many walks he had. He had 5 or 6 walks. I think Carrasco does a better job than that today. I like Carrasco a ton. I would give him the edge, and I don't mind a pivot. There's a pivot in the next game off of Castillo that's going to make a lot of sense to me that we'll get into. But I'm not playing any of the bats in that game.
Okay, and I'm not playing any of the bats in the game either. So we could move ahead to Kansas City, Chicago. And the only thing I'm sure of is that I do want to play the Chicago bats. I don't know how much. I mean, Keller's fine. I don't know how much he's going to pitch or whatever, but I do like the Cubs bats here. Again, it's not a slate with like a lot of, like you said, just smash options. So it's probably the best of kind of some medium alternatives. But I do think the Cubs are, how do I have them ranked? I think like one of the top, actually right behind the Yankees, if you want to know the truth. And then a whole bunch of them kind of tied for next. So Cubs would be my first, non-Yankees team to go up to attack here. And I'll let you try to sell me on Chatwood. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll let you try to talk to me about it. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
He changed his pitch types to pitch angle in the offseason. There was a lot of talk about him coming in and about the Cubs thinking that he looked like he could be an actual ace. And he's done nothing but prove them exactly right so far, striking out 19 guys in his first 12 innings in his first 2 starts. And those were much, much tougher matchups than this one is.
Okay.
That's my argument for him. And he gives you more upside than you do if you play both pitchers in the same game, even though the win doesn't mean much. These days it means more because the pitchers just don't go as long into games as they used to. So you're not going to get those same 11 Ks as often. But I also think he's got a great chance to get the win, and I don't feel that way about either of the other 2 guys. So give him a little bit of a boost, and also the fact that he's going to be lower owned. I just think he's a really interesting tournament play. I think all the numbers on him are completely off. I don't like the umpire he has, which is the part that's probably going to keep me off of him a little bit. But he is definitely an interesting pivot off of Castillo or Carrasco.
And it's also it's a pure pivot, right? Because it's pretty much the exact same price.
Exactly.
So that works.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly look at it a little bit more. That's for sure. What about the Cubs? You like their hitters, and if so, which ones?
I love. The thing is, like, look, bats are hard to find in this slate. We talked about that already. The Cubs I did stack in my other stack. It was Houston in one, and then I did the Cubs yesterday, and the other didn't work out as well. I do love. I always love Baez #1, no matter what, righty or lefty these days. I just think that he also has stolen base upside. He just can do a lot of things. Rizzo would be my #2. Well, sorry, I guess Schwarber would be my #2 with Rizzo #3, Bryant #4, and then what I would suggest though is if you do try to stack them, you can do it affordably by sticking in a Kipnis and a Caratini with 2 of the other guys or something like that. The problem I'm having is that I just don't think Keller is that bad of a pitcher, and I wish I did. But having said that, we don't have a lot to love on this slate. And I'm sort of, I guess one of the areas I'm struggling with on this slate is, is now the time, and by the way, I watched the guy last night who won the 100K on FanDuel, both 100Ks, both guys, different guys. Neither of them had anything more than a 2-man stack in the lineups.
Really?
Yeah. So is tonight one of those nights, or is tonight where it's a night where we just try and find one game we can really get behind? And that's if I could find one to really get behind that wasn't going to be so chalky, I would do it. And I guess the Cubs make sense, but it's going to be owned somewhat. It's not my favorite. Just struggling a little bit with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what do you think? Do you think on a slate where like this one, where there's no real big, huge standout, team to stack, is it better to, like you said, take 2 or 3 from a couple of games or 2 from 3 games? Or is it better just take like the lowest owned, kind of like just off the board team and just hope they just get there?
I mean, that's actually not a bad strategy for large GPPs. It doesn't need to be the absolute worst. We can make a case for, the teams in our next game coming up too. I can actually make a little bit of a case for the Phillies. I can make a case for
Toronto.
I'm just thinking for a second. Toronto and Atlanta. And honestly, potentially even Miami. So, like, you could find places to try but these are not exciting stacks. So you could
no,
definitely. We'll see what we got by the end of it. Let's get into Toronto, Atlanta.
Houston. I got Houston, Arizona next.
My fault.
Yeah, so Houston, Arizona, Zach Gallen and B. Bialik or whoever. I don't. You could talk to me about Gallen if you want. I don't really like either of these pitchers today. I am going to have interest in Houston as one of the secondary things behind the Yanks and the Cubs. So these are just one of those, but just one of like 5 teams. Nothing particularly incredible about them in this spot, just because Gallen's not bad. But same guys as usual, I suppose. I guess now he's against a righty too, so it's a little harder to take these Houston guys. So I guess I could always play Altuve. I don't know. Maybe Houston's not so good. I don't even know who I would play if I played Houston.
I mean, everybody.
No, I know, but nobody in particular. You got like Bregman 5,600.
Kyle Tucker would be the best play. Depending on where he's hitting in the lineup, I would play Kyle Tucker. He's red hot. He's got a ton of pop. He's got speed. Hits righties really, really well. Probably batting higher in the order today. I think he's the guy we get behind today.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's the #1 play from there for me. But then I love all the usual suspects. The problem is you got to pay up for these guys again.
Yeah.
Which means we probably have to use Maldonado as our catcher. Although he got priced up to 3.1 from 2.6. But again, you could play Toro again if he's in the lineup as a switch hitter. He's been starting against lefties more than righties, but I do think that if he's starting, I would keep playing that hot bat too. That's the cheap exposure to this game, and you can always play Reddick too, obviously. There were so many barrels last night. It was crazy in this game. I don't think I've ever seen a game with so many barrels, but I still am having a hard time wanting to get to too much of Arizona. I don't know. How about you?
I'm not playing them.
Man, they just scored 5 million runs too.
Good.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
they got it out of their system. All right.
Congratulations. I mean, I don't know. It's fine.
All right.
All right. So Toronto, speaking of which, Toronto, Atlanta. Again, not particularly interested in either's pitchers today. I was trying to figure out some reason to make Pearson fit my build somewhere, but who needs it? I really don't. I would be more interested in both sides of the ball, both sides of the plate, at both teams' hitters. Again, just off the board stuff. Maybe not even on DK. Toronto's like pretty expensive on DK. But I think Atlanta's fine again. Again, they always look expensive and they always score 10 runs. So what do I know?
If Tukey had more under his belt, I would have probably considered him here. He's a little expensive, but I believe in the K upside against these Toronto guys. But I'm okay with the Toronto thing. I'm much more interested in the Braves side of this and going against Pearson.
Okay.
I understand he's good and he could easily cost me, but if there was a stack you could go after, this is a really, really, really strong lineup. And and I don't think that he's going to have an easy time with it, assuming Freeman is going to be back in the lineup because I think he just got the day off yesterday. But then you got, Markakis and Ciarte. They're pretty good against righties too. So I kind of like them, but again, it's not hard. It's really hard to pick like a favorite hitter.
Albies is out for a whole week, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know where I would stand with this one. I mean, obviously Acuna and Freeman, but we've not named a lot of other high-end guys who we could pay for. So it's not like super exciting. I do think this stack goes lower owned though. It's going to be like unowned. So that could be interesting, or very low owned considering the size of the slate. But it's not exciting. Pearson's pretty good.
So interestingly, the last two games are going to be kind of intriguing actually. So Baltimore, Miami, from a pitching perspective, you have two teams who they have the reputation of being bad hitting teams, but they both seem to be hitting the ball pretty nicely. But Wade LeBlanc is a very competent $6,600 pitcher against Miami. He's probably actually going to get some ownership on the slate. I mean, to pair him with Carrasco or Castillo, if you don't want to pay for both of them, I think he's very legitimate. I think he's certainly part of the player pool. I happen to like the other guy coming up better, but the guy coming up better is going to be higher owned. And Yamamoto, well, where on DraftKings he may be too expensive. He's really like uber cheap on FanDuel. So if you want to do that, I think Yamamoto on FanDuel is I mean, just on points per dollar, he's probably like the best play on the slate. It's not that easy. We know he could take one pitcher and you need want to get 40 points out of it, whatever. But Yamamoto is really cheap on FanDuel. So on DraftKings though, I think LeBlanc is the better.
Do we think he'll throw? Like he hasn't pitched yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what worries me a little bit, but I certainly get it from the matchup. He looks like he's going to be awesome here.
I do see a little cloud and rain though in the Baltimore Miami thing, so we gotta keep an eye on that for sure. And I don't know if I'm gonna bite for either these Miami or Baltimore stacks. I don't know. It might start to get too cutesy. I don't know. I thought about it. I thought about going for Miami, but I just decided not to. Do you eat anything here like a lot, or what's your view on this game?
God, it's really hard to get excited about these hitters when you see these lineups.
Yeah.
LeBlanc also is oddly almost sort of reverse splitsy.
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of strange. I mean, all of them are fine. The price of John Birdie on FanDuel, I think he's 2.3 or 2.4 or something like that. That's good. But these prices, Brett Anderson's 4.4 even, and he's fine, but I'm not loving these things. I guess Jesus Aguilar would be the best play. Maybe you could play Corey Dickerson in the lefty. I'm just not that excited about it, to be honest with you. This is not a fun slate.
No.
All
right. So in the last game of the day is I think that in the end, Lindblom might end up being the I was going to say the highest owned player, but I just think that people are going to put in Carrasco Castillo together a lot. So maybe, but it's so easy to play some lineups Carrasco Lindblom and some Castillo Lindblom whatever, and then you get some of the bigger bats in. I think this guy's gonna be really popular, but I think he's a. I mean, how popular does it make it worth it? I think he's a really really good play.
Is he
Even
popular
though
just because he played in the KBO?
he was supposedly really good, and he was pretty good in his last start, wasn't he, or the
I
one
mean, he
before?
pitched
I forget.
3 innings.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
He's
don't
50,
like picking starting pitchers who were pitching 3 innings personally.
he's 5,300.
Yeah, I don't. I'll leave it for today. I mean, I get it. Like, I actually think he's got good stuff,
So
but
you'd rather have like a LeBlanc
people
or
thought
something
he'd be
like
like stretched out from that KBO. He pitched 3 innings.
that. Yeah.
What are we doing? I don't want LeBlanc either, really. But if I had to pick, I probably would pick LeBlanc just because I think he could pitch more than 3 innings.
You're going to be able to get in what you want with using both these guys together, Carrasco and Castillo?
Yeah, I think I will enough of it. I like some of the Philly pieces who are a little too cheap. I like some of the Houston guys that can play Toro again if I want to. And then there, the Yankees are expensive, but I can make it work, I think.
Do you like so I guess my next question is, would you like the White Sox hitters? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you know what they are for me? They're just another mid-level team I would take a shot on maybe. But again, I don't have a lot of. I mean, I like Lindholm here, Lindblom. Although I might end up playing, I might not if Lindblom's fishy, for example, like if you have these concerns about him and he's got innings issues and he is just a KBL pitcher and he ends up being really really owned, I might take a shot at Effin. You know what I mean? That would be the reason why I would do something like that.
I get it. That makes a lot of sense. And I get the thing with Eflin with the righties, but I'm not going there myself, but I totally get it. But yeah, I actually like the White Sox a little bit more than I talked. Like, you have some reasonable prices with, even Robert and Jimenez are not that expensive, but then Mazzara now at 3.4 getting, higher in the order.
Wow.
He's getting back. So their lineup is getting, scarier. I wouldn't touch the Mendick or Lurie Garcia probably, but everybody else in the lineup I would call firmly in play. So this might be a good pivot spot, actually. I don't like stacking against Milwaukee in general, but one, we have a question mark in Lindblom. Two, it could be a very long relief game. So instead of like just being a short relief game, which is where I really fear them. And then also, there's just nothing else to really get that excited about. And this is a high octane offense, like, that can really get it going. So if Lindblom gets a little bit wild or for any reason can't pitch more than his 3 innings, he also might get himself in some jams because these guys, I mean, they've been really, really good and actually more disciplined than before at the plate. So I can get behind the White Sox for sure. I would rate my stacks just real quick before we get out of here. Yankees would be my number one just in terms of, but again, I might have to pivot off of it. My favorite of the lower owned stuff would probably be the Philly mixed with the White Sox, and then that's pretty much it. I don't have a ton of individual bats that are standing out to me today. Again, maybe it'll change when the lineups come out, but nothing really glaring. I do want to note, remember, it's a 3:05 lock today, 6:05 locked Eastern, not 7:05 tonight. So make sure you are editing and keeping an eye out early.
You know what I used to ask you more? What are your favorite, if you even looked at it from this perspective, what are your favorite like sub $3,500 plays here? I mean, if you look for particular values and stuff, because when you just mentioned Mazzara, I mean, 3,400 is pretty ridiculous for him if he's
Yeah, and in batting sixth, it's not as the ideal for a one-off, but he certainly has incredible power historically, and I actually think he's a really, really good play. So actually, I do think that you could play. He would make sense as a one-off.
What about Hoskins? How about Hoskins under 4K?
Hoskins is awesome. I love Hoskins. That's partly what makes me like. Hoskins, McCutchen would be like the first two guys that I would just think of as spending down a little bit, getting a little bit of exposure to a team that I really want tonight. I like Montgomery overall. Don't get me wrong, but these guys are lefty killers, and I don't even think. And Montgomery, I don't think he's like anything amazing either. So I'm sort of into this Philly stuff a little bit.
What kind of catchers do you like today? Oh my God, Omar Narvaez is 5,100.
So catcher, I'm looking real quick. Depends. I mean, I would say it's part of your stacks for the most part. The guys who
Okay.
stand out as having like, just being good hitters, like obviously Grindal and Contreras would be at the top of the list. Maybe you would say that about Sanchez, although he looks absolutely awful. And Real Muto. But honestly, paying down is going to be a little bit tricky today. So I think your pay down
What I'd like to do, what I'd like to do with Yankees is maybe get that other guy to get the start, the other catcher.
You could play Caratini or you could play Pena here. But yeah, catcher, that's what I would do, Caratini or Pena if I was spending down. First base, I'm mostly going to be Hoskins. I honestly, I'm not going to play a ton of lineups. I don't really think about it I don't even think about it too far, but I do think Hoskins is my number one guy right there just because I'm
Yeah, look at this. Look at this little sneaky lineup here.
Yeah, see, now we're talking. I like that stuff. That little 3-3-2 action.
Just in case.
I can get behind it. Yeah, save that one.
Just in case.
I like it. But it is going to be hard to get off the chalk, so just keep that in mind and make sure you use it. Like, you can play weird guys like Logan Forsythe against LeBlanc, who no one's going to play.
Who's this?
He's 3,400. Logan Forsythe. He hits lefties well, assuming he's in the lineup. Jason Kipnis is 2,800. You can use him. You know what I mean? There are some cheap guys out there that we can use. Those are my cheap second baseman. But my overall, second baseman, you're probably going to try it. If it's not LeMahieu, it's probably going to be one of those guys. Or if I'm not using Carrasco, I would take a shot with Moustakas. It's an ugly night, man. I mean, you got to pay up in weird spots, but I do like the build you just came up with, and that's along the lines of sort of what I'm thinking about. Except for I'm going to try and figure out a way to get some Yankees in, and I might skip Chris Bryant, but that's basically it for me.
Chris, so rank your Cubs again, if you wouldn't mind. So,
Baez, Schwarber, Rizzo, Bryant.
Okay.
But Bryant, you could easily argue is number 2.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So we got action. We got golf action. We got basketball action. We got baseball action. We're rocking and rolling.
All right, guys. Good luck tonight. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards, and we'll see you shortly on the QLTV live show. Although you'll probably see this after that. So, for Sheets, I'm Bobby saying good luck tonight.